Welcome to Motherhood from the Brain, a podcast guiding moms of preteen girls on how to navigate emotional challenges that are not addressed in school. We share real stories, expert advice, and brain-based methods for handling tough moments. Discover insights to create a deeper connection with your preteen and improve your motherhood journey. Let's tackle the uncharted territory of parenting together. Hosted by professional certified coach, Esther Babazi.
Hello there, friend or friends. Welcome to the 9th episode of the Motherhood and the Brain podcast, a podcast for moms who are raising their preteens and are looking for tips and advice about how to improve things, communication between them and their preteens. Before I begin, I just want to state a small disclaimer. I don't know how long I'm going to be stating these disclaimers. I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or any other licensed mental health worker. On this podcast, Motherhood and the Brain, I just share what has helped me, what is helping me improve my emotional well-being, mental and physical well-being. And because I know there are many mothers out there who are in the same place I am or I was all those years ago, wondering whether there's something wrong with them because of how they feel. And this podcast is for them to help them improve. If you take away one tip in each podcast, I'll be very glad. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about why you, as a successful mom who is running your business, you have this amazing job, you are killing it at work, like we say, you are achieving goals and doing all these things, but somehow, somewhere, success at work is not translating to quote-unquote success at home. And you just can't figure out why. This is important because gaining awareness in this area is the first step to bringing back harmony and improving things with your preteen. Like I said, you are a successful mom at work. You lead a big team. Maybe you lead different teams. You are an entrepreneur. You run your own business. You are making money. You are giving opportunity to other people who are working for you. You are employing them. Like, things are going well, but you just can't figure out why you can't get control of your yelling when you get home. The yelling is distracting you, and it is starting to interfere with your sleep. It is making you feel uncomfortable. You think that you're failing at yelling, but actually, you are very successful at it. And the reason why you are successful at yelling is the same reason you are successful in your business, in your job, or at work generally. So in this podcast, I'm going to show you how your success pattern at work is the same success pattern that is leading you into yelling at your preteen. So let's begin. As a mom, you often attribute your achievements to your ability to set and meet high standards. This trait may stem from innate drive for excellence, external pressures, or sometimes a combination of both, or many times a combination of both. In the workplace, in your business, you have high expectations that lead to ambitious goal setting and meticulous attention to detail and a relentless pursuit of success. At the same time, in your role as a mom, you may unintentionally transfer these expectations onto your preteen. You may expect your preteen to excel academically, behave impeccably, and adhere to strict rules and routines, mirroring the standards you set for yourself and the other people in your professional life. When your daughter inevitably falls short of these expectations, whether due to typical teen behavior, preteen behavior, developmental challenges, or simply being human, because you are so successful at work and in your business, you may experience disappointment and frustration. You may perceive your daughter's failure to meet your expectations as personal shortcomings or reflections on your own inadequacy as a mom. So what happens is, in moments of heightened frustrations or disappointment, you may struggle to express how you feel in a constructive or healthy way. And yelling sometimes becomes the default response, serving as a release valve for pent-up anger and frustrations, and a way to assert control in a situation that feels chaotic and overwhelming. Because you are successful at work, you achieve goals, like you lead people, you lead big teams, you thrive in environments where you are in control of circumstances. Or maybe you think you are in control of circumstances and outcomes. So when you come home and you are faced with challenges in relationship with your child, particularly during the preteen teenage period, which is marked by rebellion and defiance, you sometimes resort to yelling as a misguided attempt to regain a sense of control over the situation. And beneath the surface of outward success, you may harbor deep-seated fears of failure or inadequacy, like many human beings, many of us. These fears may be increased by societal expectations of perfectionism and the pressure to have it all. Like, you have this job, you have this business, therefore your child must fit in all those things. So you have it all, like they say, you have your cake and eat it too. So when your child's behavior deviates from the society's or maybe your idealized expectation, it can trigger a feeling of insecurity and self-doubt, fueling your emotional response, which is yelling. So when you recognize the impact of your high expectations and perfectionism on your relationship with your child, you can begin to cultivate a more balanced approach that prioritizes connection, understanding, and something many of us don't understand, called unconditional love. It's very easy to say we love our children unconditionally until they do something that we don't agree with. Then the unconditional love is taken away. So, this is my work. This is where I come in. When you recognize that something is not going the way you want it to go, this is how I help moms. And this involves helping you set realistic expectations, practice patience, empathy, first of all with yourself, and then creating open navigation or open ways to navigate challenges that arise with motherhood and work. And how do we do that? When we yell, when you have a human moment and yell, I call it human moment. When you have a human moment and yell, you do not beat yourself up. You do not call yourself names. You do not think you're a failure. You just acknowledge that you had a human moment and fell. You slipped and fell. You rise up, dust yourself up, and keep going. There is no benefit of calling yourself names. It only makes you feel worse. And then we go back and find out what happened. Why did you yell? What happened before yelling? What were you thinking? Like, what sentence? You know how our parents always asked us, what were you thinking when we did something? That statement is very true. Like, what were you thinking before the yelling happened? Okay, you just got home from maybe a day of meetings and you're exhausted and your patience is running very thin. And of course, your 11-year-old gave you what we call attitude. And before you knew what happened, you were raising your voice and yelling at her. Okay, now that we know that, we come up with a solution for next time you come home and you're exhausted and your child gives you attitude. What are you going to do? We need to plan ahead of time for these things. The next time you come home from a day's meetings or a trip and your child gives you attitude and you find yourself yelling at her, or you yell at her, what are you going to do in order for you not to yell? It can be different things. You can say, can you go away? Or maybe you move away, you remove yourself from the situation to go and calm down. I have found that to be very helpful. I'm not in a position to talk to you right now. I need a few moments to collect myself, and you go away. Or you ask them to go away and they will leave. You ask them to step away because you need a few moments to collect yourself. And they will leave. Many times they will leave. If you ask them to go away, they will leave. Or you could think, like, what is going on in her brain? Maybe the same way you had a stressful day is the same way they had a stressful day at school. So maybe you coming home and asking them to do homework immediately, maybe it's not helpful because they are exhausted, you're exhausted, and you are going to create friction. So maybe it's worth letting them cool down. Maybe, I don't know. You just have to find something that works for you depending on your home situation. But the important thing is to learn to plan ahead of time before things happen, because you know it will happen. For me, what I did with the homework struggles, I did something that many people will find controversial, but it works for me. I have an 11-year-old, and we had lots of homework struggles until I arrived at this solution. My child is 11. They understand when the teacher gives them homework. They understand they're supposed to do the homework and hand it in the following day. Or whichever day. Sometimes they don't need to hand it in the following day. Sometimes they get homework on Monday and they hand it on Friday. And she knows all this information. Because of these constant struggles that we had with the homework, I told her that you are 11, and from this day, I'm saying she's 11 now, but we started this when she was, I think, 10. She had just made 10, I think. So I said, I'm speaking from now, that you're 11. From this day, you are responsible for your homework. So what I do is I set aside an hour every evening. Maybe I will say I'm available from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. If you have any homework related questions, I'm available during that time. And of course, she's not available during that time. I know that. I'm expecting that and I'm anticipating that, and that is what exactly she does. Because I understand now how the brain works. Like, nobody wants to be told what to do. That's just the nature of human beings. Our brains don't like being told what to do. I think it has something to do with our agency, our autonomy. When you tell people what to do, they become rebellious and they want to push back. So when I tell her, I have from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., if you have any homework questions, come to me, then, of course, she does not come during that time. She comes at 8:30, maybe 8 to 8:30, asking me for homework help. And I said no. I said I was available from 6 to 7 p.m. for homework help. Now I'm doing other things. Now you have to face your teacher. And there is nothing our children want like being talked to by their teacher about homework. Nothing like that. They don't like being pulled apart and the teacher talking to them about homework, why they did not do homework, she told me she does not like that. So this system of mine, this small system of mine, has proved very helpful. If she does not do her homework, she has to speak to the teacher ahead of the teacher asking her. Like, she has to speak to her before why she did not do homework, or maybe why it's not finished. But many times she does it now. And she will come, she's starting to warm up to the idea of coming up to me the time that I set. I make sure I don't forget. So every evening I tell her I'm available. I give her like an hour in advance. Like, I'm available from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. today if you need any help. And then I'll say it the following day. Maybe depending on what I'm doing, maybe the following day I'm available from 7 to 8. Maybe another day I'm available from 5 to 6. It depends. But I give her 1 hour for us to sit and do homework if she needs my help. And ever since I did that, I think she's come to me 3-4 times within the specified time that I said. But I'm just teaching her that homework is for you. It was creating tension. There was a lot of, I don't know, anger and frustration from her and from my part about homework, and I found out it was not necessary. She understands now that homework is her responsibility and she can come to me for help if she needs help. And if the teacher asks why she did not do homework, then she will have something to tell the teacher. This is just an example of things that create tension in the homes, especially in the afternoon when everybody has come from work and they are frustrated, and the child is coming from school and they are tired. Our children, remember last week I talked about the nervous system, our nervous system response. Their nervous system is already exhausted, and then they have to do homework and they don't know how to regulate, to self-regulate, and then it becomes a whole mess. So since I am the adult, and I know how to self-regulate, and I understand how our brains work, I decided to take the quote-unquote the high road. I let her deal with her homework, and it's been like a game changer. This is something I just sat down and I said, there must be something I can do. There must be a solution out there to avoid these confrontations. So if you're coming from work, from days meetings, you are coming from work, you have frustrations at work, it's very easy for you to become agitated if you are not aware of what's going on, if you're not aware of your triggers. So the best thing, in my opinion, is to sit down and find solutions. This podcast is meant, the Motherhood and the Brain podcast is meant to help you, the mothers, learn how to access your own wisdom. You know, we all have wisdom within us, but because of the way we have been raised, we think that other people are smarter than us. Other people are know what we should do. Other people they're better than us. Of course, people are better than us in skill. You can't be a doctor unless you went to medical school. You can't be a lawyer, an engineer, a nurse, all those things, unless you went and acquired those skills. But there are things that we can learn to do ourselves by learning to access our own wisdom. This is why I'm saying that you have to look at your situation and find a solution that works for you. And if it doesn't work, no harm done. If the solution does not work, no harm done. Try something different until you find something that works for you. There is no one size fits all. Find something that works for you and then do that. Okay, this is a bit of a rambly episode, but I just wanted to demonstrate, to show you that when you are successful at work and you are struggling with communicating with your child, it's most likely because you are the same success system that you're using at work is the same one that is leading you to yell. And in order for you to understand this, you have to tune in yourself and go in yourself and start seeing patterns. And the number one way of not yelling, learning to yell less, is to see what's going on for you. How can you come up with solutions? What solutions are helpful for you in your situation? When you tend to become agitated and frustrated, it creates the same response in your child. Just so you're aware. When you yell at your child, it creates the same response in her and she will yell back at you. And before you know it, you're having yelling matches. So when you gain awareness of how our brain works, how our nervous system responds to threats, then you can create solutions that offset those would be reactions. Okay, so if you're taking out anything from this episode, it's if you're successful at work, in your business, you're successful at leading teams, the same skills that you use at work, you are most likely using the same skills with your child. But your child is a child. Their brain is not fully developed. They can't focus. They can't plan. They can't strategize the same way your team does at work. But because you do not have that awareness, you bring your expectations onto your child. And of course, you clash because your child is developing. They are going through a defiance phase. Their brains are developing. They haven't really developed. Sometimes they are on, sometimes they are off. The emotional regulation centers, sometimes they are on, sometimes they are off. They can't plan, they can't focus. I gave an example last time. I look at my child. He just did it this morning. We are about to go out and he asks me for 5 minutes to charge his phone. Like, that is how they think. He cannot plug his phone in like the way, like we do. He charges like 5-10 minutes each time and he will go on 1% over a long period of time and then he will charge. That is how they do things. So no amount of me talking will make him charge the phone the way I charge. And maybe it's not even the goal. So when I understand all that, then I can come up with solutions to help me offset me feeling agitated and frustrated. Because we are dealing with children. We are not dealing with adults who have fully grown brains, who we are as responsible for, who we can push. We are dealing with children. So when we learn that, then we can bring our expectations down. Because at the end of the day, all the yelling and all this, the frustration and overwhelm we feel is coming from our own expectations. When you expect too much from a child who's not able to give you what you're expecting, you are going to become frustrated and overwhelmed. That's completely natural. So when we gain awareness of all these things, then we learn how to come up with solutions to help us offset the would-be frustration and overwhelm and yelling and all those things. I don't know. This episode was a little bit rambly, but thank you for listening all the same. Talk to you again next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Your time means the world to us. If you found this episode valuable, we would be immensely grateful if you could spare a moment to visit Apple Podcasts and share your thoughts through a review. Your feedback plays a vital role in helping fellow moms discover our podcast and enrich their own motherhood experiences. Take care, and bye for now.